study,
and play. Come together on a Windows 11 PC.
And for a limited time, college students get
The best of both worlds.
Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
You have one new message. Translating. Disney and Pixar's Hoppers is now available on Disney+.
You could say that again.
Critics are calling it Pixar's funniest movie ever and a wildly entertaining ride. Blizzard Potato. It's certified fresh and verified hot.
Now we party.
This is incredible!
Wow, I am clearing the rest of the day.
Disney and Pixar's Hoppers, now available on Disney+. Rated PG.
Welcome back to Haunted America, the podcast where we explore the most haunted locations, chilling legends, and unexplained mysteries, and paranormal encounters from across the United States. Tonight's episode takes us deep into the heart of Kentucky, a state rich with history, folklore, and stories that refuse to stay buried. Our first destination is Rocky Point Manor, a mysterious and often overlooked location surrounded by tales of ghostly apparitions, strange sounds, and unsettling encounters. Then, we'll travel to one of the bloodiest battlegrounds of the Civil War, the Perryville Battlefield. Are these merely stories passed down through generations? Or are there places where history leaves behind something more? Turn down the lights, settle in, and join us as we journey into one of Kentucky's most haunted landscapes. This is Haunted America. When discussing haunted locations in Kentucky, people almost immediately think of Waverly Hills Sanatorium or the Old Talbot Tavern. But hidden among Kentucky's lesser-known paranormal legends is Rocky Point Manor. Unlike some haunted locations that gain notoriety because of famous tragedies or well-documented historical events, Rocky Point Manor occupies a unique place in paranormal lore. Much of its reputation stems from decades of eyewitness testimony, local legends, and reports from investigators who claim to have experienced strange phenomena firsthand. The manor itself has become the focus of countless ghost stories. Stories involving shadow figures, disembodied voices, unexplained cold spots, and sightings of individuals who seemingly vanish into thin air. As with many allegedly haunted locations, separating documented history from legend can be difficult. Yet, that uncertainty is often what makes places like Rocky Point Manor so fascinating. The mystery invites investigation, and over the years, many people have answered that invitation. Before examining the paranormal claims, it's important to understand why places become haunted in the first place, at least according to paranormal theories. Many researchers believe intense emotional events can leave an imprint on a location. Others argue spirits may remain attached to places that held special significance during life. Some investigators suggest residual hauntings are similar to recordings, where traumatic moments replay repeatedly without any conscious spirit involved. If any of those theories are true, then locations with long histories naturally become candidates for paranormal activity. Rocky Point Manor certainly has the age, atmosphere, and history that many investigators look for. Witnesses frequently describe the property as feeling unusually heavy. Several visitors have reported sensing that they were being watched, despite being completely alone. Others have spoken about hearing footsteps in empty hallways, doors opening and closing on their own, and voices emerging from rooms where nobody was present. One reoccurring story involves sightings of a woman dressed in period clothing. Witnesses describe seeing her standing silently near windows. Sometimes she appears at the end of hallways. Other times she reportedly vanishes when she's approached. These sightings have become one of the most frequently discussed paranormal claims associated with the manor. What makes such reports interesting is the consistency. Many witnesses who were unfamiliar with previous stories later described seeing a similar figure. Skeptics argue this could simply be the power of suggestion. Believers see it as evidence that something unexplained may truly be occurring. Another common report involves shadow figures. Now, unlike traditional ghost sightings, shadow figures are often described as dark human-shaped silhouettes. Witnesses claim they move quickly through rooms or across doorways. Some investigators report seeing them only out of the corner of their eye. Others insist that they observe them directly. Shadow figure reports have become increasingly common at haunted locations across the United States, and Rocky Point Manor appears to be no exception. Paranormal teams investigating the property have also reported strange electromagnetic anomalies. Yep, there we go. Equipment batteries draining unexpectedly, audio recordings capturing unexplained sounds, and electromagnetic fluctuations without obvious causes. Of course, skeptics point out that unusual environmental factors can often explain such occurrences. Old wiring, temperature changes, equipment malfunctions, all can produce effects that seem paranormal. Yet despite these explanations, reports continue year after year, visitor after visitor, and investigator after investigator. And that persistence keeps this legend alive. Perhaps one of the most unsettling aspects of Rocky Point Manor is not any single story, but rather the cumulative effect of dozens of experiences. A single unexplained sound may be easy to dismiss. A single strange photograph could just be an accident. But when countless people independently report similar experiences, the mystery deepens. Now, whether these reports represent genuine paranormal activity or the influence of expectation and folklore remain open to debate. But one thing is certain, Rocky Point Manor has earned its place among Kentucky's enduring ghost stories. As darkness falls over the property, investigators often describe a dramatic shift in atmosphere. The manor becomes quieter, heavier, almost as if the building itself is waiting. And according to some visitors, that's when the strangest encounters begin. Many paranormal investigators agree on one thing. Some locations simply feel different. You walk through the front door and immediately sense a shift in the atmosphere. The air feels heavier, sound seems muted, and a strange feeling settles over you that is difficult to explain. According to numerous visitors, Rocky Point Manor is one of those places. Several investigation teams have reported experiencing unusual activity almost immediately after entering the building. One of the most commonly reported phenomena involves suddenly feeling the temperature change. Investigators have described moving through warm rooms only to encounter pockets of freezing air with no apparent source. These cold spots often appear briefly before disappearing just as suddenly. Paranormal researchers frequently associate cold spots with spiritual manifestations. Skeptics, however, point out that older structures often have hidden drafts, poor insulation, and fluctuating airflow. This debate remains unresolved, yet the reports continue. Another recurring claim involves unexplained sounds. Footsteps are perhaps the most common. Investigators have reported hearing heavy boots walking across upper floors despite being alone inside the building. Others describe hearing soft footsteps directly behind them. When they turn around, nobody is there. Imagine standing alone in a dark hallway. The only illumination comes from a flashlight. Then suddenly, a slow creak, a footstep, and then another, approaching. But when you shine your light towards the sound, the hallway remains empty. That scenario has reportedly occurred numerous times within Rocky Point Manor. Some visitors claim the sounds become more frequent during the early morning hours between midnight and 3 a.m., the time often referred to in the paranormal circle as witching hour. Whether that belief has any scientific basis remains uncertain, but many investigators continue to focus their efforts during these hours. It's also partly the reason I like recording during those hours. Just makes me feel more in the mood. I don't know. But nearly every haunted location has a signature spirit. For Rocky Point Manor, that spirit may be a mysterious female apparition. Witnesses have described seeing this woman in what appears to be clothing from another era. Like we talked about earlier, some claim she appears near windows, while others report seeing her standing motionless at the end of hallways. In several accounts, witnesses initially assumed she was a living person. Only when they approached did they realize something was wrong. The figure would suddenly disappear, no footsteps, no doors opening, no explanation. Just gone. One unsettling story involves a visitor who reportedly saw the woman standing near a staircase. The witness believed someone had entered the building unexpectedly, and as they approached, the figure slowly turned towards them. Before they could speak, she vanished. The visitor reportedly left the manor shortly afterwards. Experiences like this are difficult to verify, yet similar descriptions have surfaced reportedly over the years. Could multiple witnesses simply be influencing one another, or are they encountering something genuinely unexplained? That question lies at the heart of paranormal investigations. Now, one of the most controversial forms of paranormal evidence is EVPs, electronic voice phenomena. The idea is simple. Investigators leave audio recorders running while asking questions. Later, during playback, we search for voices that were not heard during the investigation itself. Many believe these recordings are evidence of spirit communication. Others argue they are merely example of audio contamination, background noises, or human pattern recognition. At Rocky Point Manor, investigators claim to have captured numerous strange recordings, whispers, names being spoken, unintelligible responses, and in some cases, voices appear to answer direct questions. Now, if you just like listening to spooky podcasts and you've never actually investigated yourself, just imagine this. You're sitting in a dark room, maybe with a friend that you're out investigating with. You're sitting opposite of one another with a recorder in the middle of you on the floor. Now imagine asking, "Is anyone here with us tonight?" The room remains silent. Nothing happens. Hours later, while reviewing the audio, a faint voice appears, a single word.
Yes.
I've wanted to use that thing for so long now. It's been a while since I've used my voice changer. I'm sorry, back into it. Experiences like that have fueled decades of fascination with EVP research. Whether paranormal or psychological, such recordings remain among the most debated pieces of evidence in ghost hunting. Now, perhaps the most frightening reports from Rocky Point Manor involve other shadow figures. Witnesses describe seeing dark silhouettes moving through rooms. These figures are often human-shaped, but lack visible features. No eyes, no clothing, just darkness. I mean, I imagine everybody at one point or another has seen something out of the corner of their eye. Several investigators claim these shadows move with purpose, though. Unlike ordinary visual illusions, they appear to travel from one location to another. Sometimes they're crossing hallways, sometimes they stand motionless before disappearing. A few witnesses have reported feeling overwhelming fear immediately before seeing a shadow figure. This reaction is common in many paranormal reports worldwide. Researchers have proposed several explanations. Psychological responses to darkness. I know a lot of us are scared of the dark. Samesies. Peripheral vision distortions. Environmental factors affecting perception. Or perhaps something that science is yet to fully understand. Whether the explanation, reports of shadow figures remain some of the most unsettling accounts associated with Rocky Point Manor. One story often repeated among paranormal enthusiasts involves an investigator who allegedly became separated from the rest of his team. According to the account, he was documenting activity on an upper floor when he heard someone call his name. Assuming it was another team member, he followed the voice. I'm just going to stop here, right, really quick. How do you not recognize one of your team members' voices calling you? Like, I feel like I would, like, if my buddy was on an investigation with me and he was in an opposite room and called my name, I would recognize his voice. If something called my name, I would be able to tell it's not his voice. Yes? Like, I feel like, I don't know, maybe not in the heat of the moment. I don't know. Anyways, the voice called again and again, leading him farther away from his group, luring him away. Eventually, he realized something strange. The voice sounded familiar, yet none of his teammates were nearby. When he returned to the group, they insisted that nobody had called for him. What a team you got there, bud. Nobody was missing you. Weird. Stories involving phantom voices are surprisingly common in haunted locations. Whether caused by acoustics, imagination, or something paranormal, they continue to challenge investigators. Now, after decades of reports, Rocky Point Manor remains a mystery. There is no universally accepted proof of haunting, no definitive evidence that spirits roam its halls. But there's no shortage of experiences. People continue to visit, continue to investigate, and continue to leave with stories they struggle to explain. And perhaps that's why places like Rocky Point Manor endure, not because they provide answers, but because they raise questions. Questions about consciousness, about memory, and what might exist beyond death. As fascinating as Rocky Point Manor may be, Kentucky is home to a location where tragedy is not merely legend, a place where thousands of lives were changed forever in a single day, a place where some believe the echoes of war still linger. Now, when we return after this short break, we'll travel to one of America's most haunted battlefields, the Perryville Battlefield, and the chilling encounters reported by those who have walked among the fallen. Alright guys, we'll get right back into the episode in a second, but first I have to shout out tonight's sponsor. This episode is brought to you by one of the best sports card shops in Louisiana, AJ Sports Cards in Baton Rouge. If you're a collector, a sports fan, or someone chasing that next massive pull, you need to check out AJ's. AJ Sports Cards has an incredible collection of sealed sports card boxes from all of your favorite leagues, NFL, NBA, MLB, and more. Whether you're hunting rookie cards, autographs, rare parallels, or that one grail card for your collection, AJ's has the products collectors are looking for. And for all the Pokemon fans out there, they've got you covered too. AJ's carries sealed Pokemon products, booster boxes, ETBs, packs, and collectibles that are perfect for both serious collectors and casual fans looking for the thrill of opening something rare. Not into ripping packs? No problem. AJ Sports Card also has a huge selection of singles, so you can track down that exact card without relying on luck. From vintage legends to modern superstars, there's always something incredible waiting in the shop. The best part? AJ's isn't just a store, it's a community. Whether you've been collecting for years or you're just getting started, you'll find a welcoming atmosphere filled with people who love the hobby just as much as you do. So if you're anywhere near Baton Rouge, Louisiana, make sure to stop by AJ Sports Cards and see what everybody's talking about. Rip some packs, find your next favorite card, and experience one of Louisiana's top spots for sports cards and Pokemon collectibles. Tell them Haunted America sent you. Now, turn the lights down low, because it's time to get back to the shadows and stories of Haunted America. Welcome back. We've explored the strange encounters and unsettling legends surrounding Rocky Point Manor. Now we're turning our attention to a place where the horrors of history are well documented. A place where thousands of men fought, bled, and died. A place where many visitors believe the past is very, very much still alive. Welcome to the Perryville Battlefield. Located near the small town of Perryville, Kentucky, the Perryville Battlefield marks the site of one of the most significant Civil War battles fought in the Western Theater. The date was October 8th, 1862. The nation was divided. The Civil War had already torn families apart and transformed entire communities into battlefields. Now, Kentucky occupied a unique and critical position. Both the Union and the Confederacy desperately wanted control of the state. Its rivers, railroads, and resources made it strategically important. Whoever controlled Kentucky would gain a major advantage. As Confederate forces under General Braxton Bragg moved northward, Union troops advanced to meet them. Neither side fully understood the size or location of the opposing army. What followed would become one of the most bloodiest days in Kentucky history. By the end of the battle, approximately, 7,600 soldiers had been killed, wounded, or reported missing. Thousands of lives changed forever. Many never returned home. The fields surrounding Perryville became scenes of unimaginable suffering, and according to some, not everyone left. To understand the hauntings associated with Perryville, we first need to understand the battle itself. Imagine standing in a quiet Kentucky field. Rolling hills stretch into the distance. The sound of birds fill the air. Now replace that peaceful scene with gunfire. Musket shots, screaming horses, exploding shells, and thousands of frightened young men fighting for survival. That's Perryville. The battle began during a severe drought. Water was scarce. Soldiers on both sides were exhausted. Many had marched for days through difficult conditions. As fighting erupted, visibility became limited by smoke and dust. Commanders struggled to communicate. Entire units became disoriented. Some soldiers didn't even realize the scale of the battle unfolding around them. The fighting was, just to put it point blank, it was brutal. At times, opposing forces were separated by only a few dozen yards. Men loading muskets fired, reloaded, and fired again. Again and again. The noise was deafening. Artillery shells tore through formations. Cannon fire shook the earth. By sunset, the fields around Perryville were covered with casualties. The wounded cried out for help. Some remained where they had fallen throughout the night. Others sadly died, waiting for medical assistance that never came. It's very difficult to comprehend that level of suffering. Yet, it is precisely this history that leads many paranormal researchers to view battlefields as potential hotspots for unexplained activity. That's why so many like to travel to Gettysburg. When the fighting ended, the devastation was overwhelming. Medical facilities quickly became overcrowded. Farmhouses became makeshift hospitals. Churches became treatment centers. and fields became burial grounds. Survivors described scenes that haunted them for the rest of their lives. Rows upon rows of wounded soldiers, limbs amputated without modern anesthesia, families searching desperately for loved ones. Many soldiers died far from home. Some were buried hastily. Others were never positively identified. Their names lost to history. Paranormal investigators often point to this combination of trauma, sudden death, and emotional intensity as a possible explanation for lingering hauntings. Whether that theory is true remains unknown, but Perryville has accumulated ghost stories for generations. Stories of strange activity began circulating long after the battle ended. Local residents reported hearing sounds that seemed impossible: distant gunfire, marching footsteps, the rumble of cannon fire. The strange part? Obviously, at this time, there were no soldiers nearby, no military exercises, no obvious source, just sounds appearing and disappearing without explanation. Some witnesses claimed the noises occurred late at night. Others reported hearing them during quiet afternoons while Battlefield was nearly empty. One of the earliest legends tells of travelers hearing what sounded like an active battle in the distance. They reportedly followed the sounds only to find complete silence. No smoke, no soldiers, nothing. This experience left many wondering whether the battlefield itself was somehow replaying fragments of its violent past.
You thought this was your Run Club era. Turns out, it was more of a thinking about Run Club era. The good news? Someone's marathon training is about to start. Sell your workout gear on Depop. Just snap a few photos, and we'll take care of the rest. They get their race day fit, and you get a payout for trying. Someone on Depop wants what you've got. Start selling now. Depop, where taste recognizes taste.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. You know those friends who support your preference for podcasts over music on road trips? That's the energy State Farm brings to insurance. With over 19,000 local agents, they help you find the coverage that fits your needs, so you can spend less time worrying about insurance and more time enjoying the ride. Download the State Farm app or go online at statefarm.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
This idea brings us to one of the most popular paranormal theories associated with battlefields: residual hauntings. Unlike traditional ghost stories involving intelligent spirits, residual hauntings are often described as recordings, moments from the past repeating themselves. Imagine dropping a stone into water. The ripples spread outward, right? Now imagine an event so emotionally intense that it leaves a permanent imprint on a location. You drop that rock into the water and the ripples continue forever. According to the theory, under certain conditions, those events replay, not as conscious spirits, but as echoes. A soldier marching down a road over and over again, a cannon firing over and over again, voices shouting commands. These experiences don't interact with witnesses. They just simply occur, like watching a scene from history. Many paranormal researchers believe Perryville may be an example of this phenomenon. Visitors have reported hearing battle sounds without seeing any source. Others claim to have witnessed figures that appeared briefly before vanishing. If true, these encounters could represent the battlefield replaying moments from October 8th, 1862. One of the most enduring legends here involves a lone soldier. Several visitors over the years have reported seeing what appeared to be a Civil War soldier walking along roads near the battlefield. Descriptions vary slightly here, but many accounts share common details. The figure appears briefly, often at dusk, sometimes carrying a rifle, sometimes simply walking. Witnesses frequently assume the individual is a historical reenactor. After all, Perryville hosts reenactments and educational events. But when they look away and then back again, the figure is gone. No vehicle, no footprints, no explanation, just empty road. These stories have become part of Perryville's growing paranormal reputation, and they are far from the only reports. Even visitors who never experience anything paranormal often describe the battlefield in unusual terms. They speak of an overwhelming sense of sadness, a heaviness, a feeling that they are being observed. Now, it's important to acknowledge that historical knowledge can influence perception. Standing where thousands suffered naturally creates strong emotions. But some visitors report those feelings before learning the battlefield's history. Others describe sudden emotional changes while exploring specific locations. Coincidence? Psychologically? Is there something more? Nobody knows for certain. The ghost stories of Perryville become even stranger after dark. Like we talked about earlier, reports of phantom gunfire, unexplained apparitions on the battlefield, voices calling through empty fields, and encounters that have left investigators questioning everything they thought they knew. Perhaps the most famous reports from Perryville involve what investigators call phantom battle sounds. Now, we've talked about this already, but just for a second, imagine standing alone in a quiet field. The sun has begun to set. The wind moves gently through the grass. Everything is peaceful. And then suddenly, you hear cannon fire. Distant at first, startles you a little bit, but then it's closer. The unmistakable crack of muskets, shouting voices, the sounds of hundreds of men engaged in combat. But when you look around, there's nothing there. No reenactment, no nearby event, no explanation. These reports have been documented for decades. Visitors describe hearing entire battles unfolding around them. Some say the sounds lasted only a few seconds. Others claim they continue for several minutes before fading away. But what makes these accounts intriguing is their consistency. Many witnesses describe nearly identical experiences with these sounds, despite having no knowledge of previous reports. Skeptics suggest atmospheric conditions may carry sounds from great distances. Others point to auditory misinterpretation. Yet, many visitors remain convinced they experienced something extraordinary. Now, I will say here, I grew up hunting. Depending on the time of year, gunfire echoes can carry for hundreds of yards. Now, I've never been to Perryville, Kentucky, so I don't know exactly what the layout is. You know, there might be a bunch of residential places around the battlefield, and it's Kentucky, country. That's what I think about. Bunch of people with guns that hunt and fish and, So it's very possible that they are just hearing echoes from somebody a mile away just doing target practice or something. Who knows? Now, ghostly figures have also been reported throughout the battlefield. Witnesses describe seeing soldiers standing among the fields. Some appear injured. Others simply stare into the distance. Most disappear moments later. One frequently reported account involves a visitor who noticed what appeared to be a Civil War soldier standing near a fence line. The figure looked completely real. The witness reportedly assumed it was a reenactor participating in a historical event once again. When the witness glanced away and looked back, the soldier had vanished. Now, this seems to be an often described thing. It's not... How do I put this? It seems like the longer you stare at them, they'll keep appearing to you. But the second you look away, that's when they see their opportunity, I guess, to disappear. Anyways, when this happened, the field was empty. There was no place to hide, no explanation. Others report describing groups of soldiers appearing briefly before fading from view, off into the distance. Some investigators believe these sightings may represent residual hauntings like we talked about earlier. Moments from the battle replaying themselves. Not conscious spirits, simply echoes of history. Among the most chilling reports are accounts involving voices. Visitors exploring the battlefield after sunset have reported hearing whispers. Some hear their names called, which, if you're kind of following along here, would probably include intelligent spirits, not just residual, right?
This episode is brought to you by Fox One. Watch all 104 matches of the FIFA World Cup live in 4K for just $19.99 a month with 3 days free. Build your own multi-view, choose up to 3 streams, and follow player spotlights. Stay on top of every moment with live stats, highlights, and instant replays. The FIFA World Cup, streaming live on Fox One. Offers are subject to change. See fox.com for complete terms and conditions.
Others describe hearing commands that sound military in nature. Advance, move, hold the line. The voices here are often faint, just loud enough to hear, and too quiet to understand completely. Several paranormal investigation teams have attempted to document these phenomena using audio equipment. Some claim to have captured unexplained sounds during recordings. Faint voices, strange responses, words that just seem to emerge from silence itself. As always, skeptics urge caution. Audio recordings can be influenced by environmental noise and interpretation, yet the fascination remains. The possibility that voices from the past might still linger in these fields continue to captivate investigators, and that's what captivated me to do a little podcast episode on it. Now, not every paranormal experience here involves seeing an actual ghost. Sometimes the most unsettling encounters are emotional. Many visitors describe an overwhelming sensation that someone is nearby, a feeling of being observed, a presence just beyond sight. Some report sudden sadness. Others experience anxiety without any obvious cause. These are stories of visitors becoming emotional near certain areas of the battlefield and later learning that intense fighting occurred there. Could this simply be the power of suggestion? Perhaps, but many witnesses insist they knew nothing about the battlefield's history before visiting. These experiences remain difficult to explain. Modern paranormal investigators continue to visit Perryville in hopes of finding answers, using cameras, audio recorders, thermal imaging equipment, and environmental sensors. They attempt to document evidence of unusual activity. Most investigators produce nothing extraordinary. But occasionally, investigators report experiences that leave them questioning what they had witnessed. A shadow moving across an empty field, a voice captured on a recorder, a sudden cold spot where temperatures drop suddenly. The challenge, of course, is proving exactly what these experiences mean. Paranormal investigation often exists in a space between science and mystery. Evidence can be suggestive, rarely definitive, and perhaps that's why these stories endure, because the mystery remains unsolved. At first glance, Rocky Point Manor and the Perryville Battlefield seem very different. One is a historic manor surrounded by local legend. The other is a battlefield marked by documented tragedy. Yet both locations share something important. They remind us that places can hold stories. Sometimes these stories are preserved in photographs. Sometimes they're written in records. And sometimes in the experiences of those who visit. Whether those experiences are paranormal, they become part of the location's identity, part of its legacy, and part of the reason why we continue to return searching for answers, searching for understanding, and searching for evidence that perhaps the past is never truly gone. History leaves marks. Some are visible, old buildings, battlefields, weathered monuments. Others may be invisible, lingering moments, emotions, stories passed from one generation to the next. Rocky Point Manor remains a place of unanswered questions. Visitors continue to report encounters they cannot explain. Perryville Battlefield stands as a solemn reminder of one of the darkest chapters in American history, a place where thousands suffered and many never returned home. Whether the ghost stories surrounding these locations are evidence of the paranormal or simply reflections of our connection to the past is something each listener must decide for themselves. Perhaps ghosts are spirits, perhaps they are memories, or perhaps there's something else entirely. But one thing is for certain, the stories endure. As long as people continue to experience the unexplained, places like Rocky Point Manor and Perryville Battlefield will remain part of America's haunted landscape. Thank you for joining me on this journey through Kentucky's haunted history. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, be sure to follow Haunted America wherever you listen to your podcast and share with a fellow paranormal enthusiast. As always, you guys can follow us on social media for more stories from the strange and unexplained. Until next time, keep your eyes open, keep questioning, and remember, sometimes the past isn't as far away as it seems.